Kentucky drops a heartbreaker to the Alabama Crimson Tide. It was a shootout, exactly as we predicted. It just didn't end up as we would have hoped. We're going to talk about that game and kind of the defense and kind of hey, where do we go from here now that we have our midweek off? That's going to be the conversation on today's episode of the Wildcats Today podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak, writer over at Kentucky Wildcats on the SI, joined as always by business casual Carson Nash today. This guy, look at him. He's ready to go work. How are we feeling today, Grizz?
I'm feeling good, as much as you can after a loss.
Yeah.
But feeling good on this fine Tuesday. Hope everyone had a good day off yesterday, MLK Day, and the inauguration and the national championship game. So it was a busy day yesterday. The Ohio State Buckeyes are unfortunately your national champion. But yeah, awesome Tuesday. Good to see you, Stefaniak. How you doing?
I'm good. Problem is, I think it was a lose-lose with Ohio State and Notre Dame. It was a lose-lose for sure. But I still would have rather Notre Dame. I can't listen to freaking Cade.
I wanted to text Cade Rudy so bad, but it never worked out that way.
Yeah, that stunk. That all around stunk. And then those who had 8.5 last night, I feel so sorry for you. You had the missed 27-yard field goal, and that was rough.
That's why you got to be minimal, Andrew. That's why you got to only take a Jeremiah Smith touchdown and a win. Yeah, I did the emotional hedge yesterday.
Yeah, there you go. That was smart. Well, Mike and I have that bet. Did I tell you about this? We put $1 on a month ago. Ohio State Natty, Bills Super Bowl, Kentucky National Championship to win 800.
Wow!
So if the Bills win the Super Bowl, the Cats can win us some money. But this was a weird game, Carson. I was watching it at Buffalo Wild Wings with my dad. We were heading up to see Shane Gillis in Cincinnati, which was a good time. So I was not at this one, unfortunately.
I was there.
Wyatt was there. And so Carson was there. But, first of all, by the way, I don't remember if I told you this or not. There was one Alabama fan, and there were these kids. And I don't know if they were actually Alabama fans or if they were people that just liked, maybe they were Louisville fans, or maybe they were just people that like to root against what the bar's doing or weird belongings. And every time they'd make a three, they'd go, boom. And I was like, oh man, this is really annoying. I don't like this. And all the Kentucky fans were like, shut up. It was funny. But, a painful loss, Carson. You were there. What were your, immediate thoughts and concerns after this one?
Yeah, I thought, of course, our defense was a struggle, and that we'll get into that later in depth. But the biggest thing for me, and this is kind of how I want to talk about this today, is the pain of losing is back now. I walked out of that building on Saturday, and I was not happy at all. It was back to when I was 12 years old cheering on the Cats again, which is awesome. I think that's a good thing because that means you're getting bought back in finally. Rupp Arena has been absolutely insane this year. So a lot of good to come from a loss, because Alabama is a top 5 team. They're really darn good. They're a really good basketball team. And they played like the Alabama that we know on Saturday. So no taking that away from them at all. They played a hell of a game. But just finding little wins and a loss, being mad, but at least we are mad about a loss because, last couple of years I got pretty used to losing against good teams. So it's good to be back at this point.
I still haven't seen Kentucky lose in Rupp Arena this year, so that's the good news.
That's why we lost, is because you weren't there.
I haven't been in a few games. Wyatt goes to some of the games. I don't go to all the games. So you can't put now. That's the first big game I've not been to. I will be in attendance on Saturday against Arkansas. So don't worry.
Yep.
But just watching this game, what really grinded my gears was when we tied it it was 81. We tied it. And then they made 3 straight threes. That was killer. That was painful. And made it 81-90. That kind of felt like a point where it was like, yeah.
That was the dagger. Let's be honest, that was a dagger.
It's kind of funny, Carson. I actually want to talk more long-term than you do today. So, if you just kind of want to spiel about this game for a few minutes, go for it, because I'm more long-term today in my brain.
No, yeah, and I feel like that's fair as well. But I thought a big key to this game was Andrew Carr's play, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you see Grant Nelson, a guy who's not typically known for going for 40 points, basically go for 40. It felt like 40 when it's Grant Nelson making the shots. But I mean, when that happens and Alabama can get to where they want, if Grant Nelson is making shots like that, it makes their team so much more lethal.
Yeah.
Because then you have to account for everybody. And of course, you got Mark Sears running around, who's one of those point guards in the country. So I thought our defense was bad. I think Carr being banged up did hurt us because he only played 18 minutes. He only had one rebound. He didn't look good. He didn't look healthy. I thought that was a big issue. So hopefully he can get back healthy because I know we're going to need to shore up the defensive end, especially down low, because that's been a struggle all year long.
That to me, I mean, Carr just was not good defensively, and Carr's not healthy, and he's got to get healthy. And I'm to the point now where it's like, do you sit him out a game and give him extra time? I mean, can we beat Vandy without Andrew Carr on Saturday? I like to think we can. And we'll preview Vandy on Thursday. I like to think that we can beat them on Saturday without him. I mean, do you sit him down and because and Pope talked about it last night in his what's it called on his radio show.
Yeah.
His back, he's got back problems. He's got back problems, and that's one of those things. He can play through it, but we don't want him playing through. We want him healthy and playing Andrew Carr basketball. And that was not Andrew Carr basketball on Saturday. He got manhandled by a stick. I mean, like it was a little rough to see. I mean, Grant Nelson's a good player. I'm not trying to fully knock him here, but that was a big thing for me. Andrew Carr's got to get back to healthy because I don't think he gets dominated by Grant Nelson at 100%. I just don't see that happening. No, so that's a big concern for me when it comes to long-term future.
I agree. And I think that was almost the biggest key of the game because you saw even Lamont played good.
Yeah.
I thought that was a big miss that we didn't have him fully healthy because I thought, honestly, it was a little frustrating. I was in the stands telling John Payne, I was like, man, it feels like we're better than these guys, but we just didn't beat them. And I mean, we're going to have to shore up our team and get healthy. The good news is that we don't have a week game this week. So Andrew will have a little more time to heal up and get ready for Saturday against Vandy.
Yeah, exactly right. And I'm hoping that full week, I mean, just supposedly went to a new doctor and maybe it was acupuncture. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you got to go get a voodoo magic person to come in, fix it. But we have the best of the people in the world. They'll be able to hopefully get him right. So love seeing 31 points from your bench. Do love that. 10, 11, and 10 from Almanor, Garrison, and Brea. Love that. Love every bit of that. But
yeah, I have nothing bad to say about the offense. I thought anytime you score 97 points, you should be able to win the game.
Yeah. And 97% on 48% from the field and 40.7% from three.
Yeah.
I mean,
shot free throws well.
16 to 20th was Tribe.
Yeah.
I mean, there are no offensive gripes. The only thing I'd say is it felt like Alabama made more timely shots.
They did. And Bama did a better job at getting to the foul line than we did.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell that there's 14 points of differential in the free throw margin. So,
and they made 13 more than we did. They went
when
29
you lose by
34.
5 and have 14 points differential. I mean, that's where you could win the game. So,
it seemed like every time we did something big momentum wise, they came down and got 2 free throws, which kills the vibe in Rupp Arena. It felt like they did that a lot. If it was do that or a 3 every time.
Yeah, when they got into the double bonus with like 13 something minutes left, I went and grabbed 2 beers because I knew it was going to be a long rest of my day.
Yeah. Carson Nash was tweeting from the Wildcats Today Twitter, and I said, that's not good. I told my dad, I said, oh, this isn't good. I said, we need to like lock you out of that. When it
during the game,
not even during the game, but we need to program it with AI to where if a script of the game is a certain way, you aren't allowed to be on there. If the refs are bad, or if they're shooting a lot of free throws, or if some random dude's making a lot of threes.
That's the OG viewer Cam Boffman ringing me in.
He's probably calling and saying he doesn't want to watch the game with fellas ever. That was a little crazy. That was a little much. He's been busy and he's suffering right now. Tough
Yeah.
week for the Lions. No shots at Camp Off this week. I rescind my shot at you, Boff. I apologize.
Just go Birds.
Yeah, well, I don't know about. I'm not going to say that, but so I mean, any other thoughts on this game itself, Carson? I want to talk for a few minutes, just long term, about the defense.
The only thing else I'll add
now
is
he's calling me. That's hilarious. Now
there's two things. I think, gosh, now I lost my train of thought. Good job,
Hold on,
Cam.
It's be funny. All right, Cam, you are on the Wildcats Today podcast. Would you like to say anything appropriate to the viewers?
Go Cats, baby.
A little bit louder. Say it with your chest.
Go Cats.
All right.
There we go.
All right. Me and Cole, we'll holler at you. All right. We'll see. All right. There you go.
There it is. Yeah. So I thought, based off of what Coach Pope said in his show last night, he said that they found some things when talking to the officiating crew and the SEC officials that they not can exploit, but can definitely do some things differently. So calls may go in our favor.
Yeah. I love that.
Which is huge. I love how Pope is so, oh man, he's just so locked in. He wants to be the best in every sort of category that we can be the best in. And that's what I love to see. And so shoring that up and that's huge. I mean, if you can, and he said he doesn't want to share them too. That's funny. He's like, I'm not going to share them because I don't want the other teams to know. But that's big. And then I think losing is big. I mean, this team always bounces back. Yeah. I mean, if we see it, we get better every time we lose. So I think a loss right here to the number 5 team in the country is not a bad thing. People shouldn't be freaking out. No, I was freaking out because I'm back to the point where Kentucky should win every game, which is good. Pope made it back to that very quickly, which is super exciting. But nothing to hang your head on a top 5 loss at all.
The problem is with Kentucky fans, we're so used to the SEC sucking.
Yeah.
That if you lose an SEC game, the sky is falling. But, you were used to that for 10 years. And then Cal decided he's washed over these last 4 or 5 years. And now he's 0-5 in SEC play. And then so we're kind of back to we're really good and we shouldn't ever lose games. But we're also adapting to the SEC being good. It's kind of a weird time for Kentucky
100%.
fans. So I get, where you're coming from. But, I mean, to get long-term, Carson, I don't want to chicken little the sky is falling, but we're going to roll through it. I don't like that our KenPom defense is 82. We've seen the numbers. You have to be, and we always forget the darn numbers, but it's something like you have to be top 20 or top 20 in defense and top 30 in offense, whatever that stat is. We're not there on our defense. We are on our offense because we're number 2. It is eerily similar to last year. Hear me out. It is not the same. It is not close to the same. But you can make the comparisons of could a really elite offensive team get wasted by poor defensive play? And that is why we got to be better defensively. We don't want, like last year, Carson, if you remember right, you and I, heck, on the show were saying, well, I guess we're going to have to win every game 101-100. Like that was the reality. I don't think that is this team, but we got to be better defensively. And it's not just this game. I mean, we've seen some defensive struggles throughout the year. I have some long-term defensive concerns that have to be shored up for this team to make a deep run in March.
Yeah, and you combat one of your best defensive performances on the season with this performance. Yeah. You played so well against A&M. You were super physical, did everything you needed to do in that game to get the win. And then on Saturday, you come and you let up 102 points. Now, I mean, it is against the top 5 offense too. Yeah. So we are playing very good opponents as well. But, I mean, we do need to shore up some things on the defensive side of the ball. But I would much rather be I would rather be in the position that our offense is in than where our defense is. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather have the best offense than the best defense.
So I'm doing math right now, which is always a struggle for me. But it's going to be well worth it. We're 2 numbers away. Okay, A&M scored 69. Pretty nice number there. And then 102 from Bama. Okay, so our opponents right now are averaging 88. SEC opponents are averaging 88.6 points per game. We're 3-2, which is absurd that we're 3-2. I mean, like, now we score a lot too, but I mean, think about it. That's 90 from Mississippi State, 100 from Florida. Both those were wins for us, ironically. 82 in the loss to Georgia. A&M scores 69, and then Bama scores 102. So that's the number right there that tells you what I'm talking about. We got to be a little bit better defensively. I think it's – and our KenPom number has dropped in SEC play. Now, it makes sense. You're playing better competition. You're playing these elite teams every game. But what I'm getting at is very simple. We need to be a little bit better defensively if we want to win a national championship. That's the reality. I'm not being a hater, a Debbie Downer. That's reality. We have to defend better to win a national championship.
The good news is it can be done because Bama made the Final Four last year and they had a worse defense. So
exactly, yeah,
it can be done, which is positive. Like that's why I say I would rather have the best offense and the best defense, because if you can control your defense and make them better for 8 games, you can win a national championship.
Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right. That's my thing is I don't like it though. Alabama did it last year. They went to a Final Four being, they did what we hoped we were going to do last year. I don't believe in it though. I just don't. I don't want to be that team, because here's the deal. You have the one game where you don't shoot well, you're done. You're done. If you're a good defensive team, if you're a good defensive team and an elite offensive team, good defense can keep you in games where the shots aren't falling. If you're a terrible defensive team and an elite offensive team, you have a bad offensive day, you lose to anybody. I mean, that's just the reality. We're not quite there, but I'd say we're close to there if we have a few more bad defensive performances. I think we got to shore up this defense if we wanted to have a special season. That's just the reality. I'm not trying to be a hater. I think most people would agree with that, but I mean, just reality. We got to be a little bit better defensively to do something special in March.
That's 100% fair. And the thing that starts with that is getting everyone back fully healthy. I think that's the first thing we need to ask for, because I saw also, I know we're going to bring this up, Kirk Krista,
I don't feel good about
is not doing the best apparently.
Well, that's the verbiage to me more. I think he's like, I don't think they were 100%, fully with. I mean, it sounds like he's on pace, but I mean, it sounds like he's 2 or 3 weeks away from finding out will he be able to come back or not this season.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you this: if I was a betting man, I bet we don't see Kirk Krista play again this season. And that's just based off the information that everyone knows, not something that we know. Everyone knows. That's just a reading between the lines vibe feeling I have. I'd love to be wrong. I've been before, but I just think that I have this feeling we're not going to see him again on the court this year.
Yeah, the farther it goes without him playing, the less likely you feel good about it, for sure. Yeah. And that dude wants to be out there with.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
This is not a shade and sharp situation whatsoever. Oh, yeah. He wants to be out there with his teammates and be winning. And I think he would help us win if he was out there. So we need him back. We need Carr back healthy. We need even Lamont to get 100%, because I don't think he was 100% on Saturday.
No, he's back. Yeah.
But
still played great.
Yeah, it's still Lamont. But just getting injuries, getting our players healthy is the first thing we can ask for, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement with you on that. Carson, you got any other thoughts before we get out of here? You want to give a little 1 minute on Caleb Wilson?
Yeah, I was gonna.
Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah. So there's been a lot of stuff flying around there with Caleb Wilson right now. He announces on Thursday. Is that correct? That's
Thursday.
Correct, right? Yeah. He announces on Thursday. It's either going to be Kentucky or North Carolina at this point. Ohio State's really just, I don't even know why.
It's us to North Carolina.
Yeah. But there's some people that are very much on North Carolina's side right now, and some people still sticking to the Kentucky guns. I will say this: NIL is a huge situation with Wilson, and North Carolina is at a point where they're very desperate.
That's
Davis, their coach for them, would be willing probably to go to unreal heights to get Caleb Wilson, because I'm sure if he doesn't have anything to sell them on for next year, he may not be there any longer. So Caleb Wilson is a big recruit for them. There was actually a report from Travis Graff. I know I saw it on Twitter. Someone tweeted it out, but they said that he wants to be a Wildcat, but with NIL, it might make it harder for him to be that. Which, I mean, if it's going to come down to $5 million or whatever, then go ahead and go to North Carolina. We'll get Danny Wolf from Michigan and be fine.
Yeah, I'd love Danny Wolf, by the way. But I don't feel good. I don't feel good about it. I really don't. Carson, I don't.
At this point, I don't really either. But I will say this: I've kept up with recruiting for a very long time, and at the end of these recruitments, there's always a lot of fire and smoke, and like you never really know what the recruit is going to do until he ultimately decides. Like I remember Zion and Marquise Bolden; both those guys were down to the last day, and you had no idea what they were going to do. And then Zion goes to Duke, who people thought it was between Kentucky and Clemson. So, I mean, there's a lot that can go on. So I'm not giving
Caleb
up.
Wilson's going to UCF.
What was that?
So you're saying Caleb Wilson's going to UCF?
No, yeah, I probably go there.
Okay.
I don't know if they have the North Carolina funds,
No.
but I'm not feeling the best about it right now. But that can change. I wish I was feeling better. I think he's a really good athlete. I think he's a good player. But I mean, if you're asked to pay crazy amount of money for him and Pope decides to go against it, then I'm gonna ride with Pope.
A blank check is a scary thing when you're recruiting against a school,
and when you're Mitch Barnhart.
You've well, yeah, but I mean, we've seen schools do this. There was a football recruit I did an article about a couple years ago. I forget when I was doing some stuff for some other schools back in the day, and I remember this guy was like a lock to this one school, and then what's the Nike guy, Phil Knight?
Yeah,
like the report is he literally handed the guy a check and said, "Just here you go, whatever you want." Like it's hard to beat that. It's hard to beat that. I think that if we made a pushback on the NIL front and said, listen, you want to be here, we'll give you we'll come back at you one more offer. And he says no to that, fine. But I mean, I think he wants to be here too. I think if you make one more offer, you might get him. But at the end of the day, NIL money, I mean, you do have to look at it as business. I mean, we can't put everything.
Money is
We're going to
money.
have to go get portal players. It's, you're going to have to keep some money around. Carson and I can't drink enough bourbon to afford Caleb Wilson ourselves. We're going to try, but we can't.
Yeah, we need some help.
So, that's kind of my thoughts, but don't feel great about it. But here's the good news. We'll find out in 2 days. So,
yeah, exactly. And this is not one of those, the sky is falling. There will be players lining up to play for Pope in this
yes.
team. So.
And we also already have 3 elite players committed.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not.
So,
we're not going to be people that's like, he sucks anyway.
No.
We're not going to do
He's
that.
a great
We want
player.
Caleb Wilson bad, but we have a darn good class without him. That's the reality.
And honestly, I feel good right now because in the past couple of years, if we don't land those guys, and we hadn't landed top 5 guys really recently, except for like Shaden Sharp, and he didn't even play.
He had a good career here.
But if you don't land those guys, you're like, our season's over. But that is not the case anymore. So still excited about that.
Yeah. So it'll be fun. We can maybe on Thursday's show, we will preview the Vandy game for Saturday. We might try and I'll see. I haven't seen what time he's committing. We might try and we'll figure something out about maybe doing a second little 10-minute show either way. If he commits, we'll definitely bring you something. If he doesn't, we'll maybe try and plan our Vandy preview around that. We'll figure it out. So, but we'll have something to you about the Vandy game on Thursday for sure. And we'll talk some Caleb Wilson on Thursday as well in some capacity. That is going to do it for today's episode of the Wildcats Today podcast. Appreciate y'all being here. Go follow our new Twitter right there, Wildcats Today _ Carson is firing stuff out there pretty much every day. Go check it out. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see y'all on Thursday.